Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
Hi, I'm Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome. This is another live Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio. Hello. My name is Lester, and in the next couple of hours we will be previewing the BSB, and that's easy for me to say. Weekend's not even started and I'm already high on enthusiasm for the action at Silverstone. Because, it's all going to kick off, and we'll have a big preview of it a bit later on. Plus, we'll be finding out whether Cal Crutchlow might be on his metaphorical last legs if he keeps ruining his chances in MotoGP. We'll be asking you about that a bit later, much to the horror of Cal fans and supporters, but maybe it has to be asked. We will be debriefing everything that happened at the Circuit of the Americas in Moto2, Moto3 and MotoGP. Plus, as well as looking at some of the BSB support series. And we have a fantastic interview that Liam did not so many hours ago with Fenton Seabright. He'll be on the show a little later on to tell us all about his season ahead this weekend in the Talent Cup and everything else that he's doing. He's doing quite a few things, his old talented Fenton. And yes, we will be taking your live comments because we are definitely live this Thursday evening. Haven't been drinking, honest. And you can contact us. It's at M Sport Radio on Twitter, Motorsport Radio on the Facebooks, or you can leave your comments box in comments box below wherever you happen to be. And also, just before we get started with the show, we'll be taking your predictions for this weekend's BSB races as part of the Superbikes Challenge game. Yes, Motorsport Radio and the Superbike Show partnering up with the Superbikes Challenge, which is in and of itself sponsored by the Quattro Plant Group, and we will, from week to week, keep up to date with how everyone is doing on there, because you can win some fantastic prizes. We'll tell you more about it later in the show. So I want to welcome back onto the show, it's Mr. Ed Hocknall. Hello, Ed. Good evening. Where have you been?
Good evening, Lester. I've been
dead.
Getting patched up.
Ed's been dead. Dead Ed.
I didn't die.
Oh, good.
Thankfully. Well, some people might not think that was a good thing, but anyway, I am back. So,
excellent.
Yes, and pretty decent week of racing to return to, so yeah.
Yeah, not bad. And if you didn't understand that reference, he was ill, I suppose, was one way to put it, the past week or so. Let's just say that without going into too much details. And regular on Motorsport Radio now, we can't get him off any of our shows, unfortunately. Once we let him in, it's like, it's just... Anyway, it's Liam Hodgins. Hello, Liam.
Hello, Lester. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I just sort of lay my bed out as soon as you let me into one show. I'm now trying to get in every single one.
Yeah,
Lester's been trying to boot me off some shows, but I just won't go anywhere. But it's great to see Ed back. Thank you for coming back, Ed. And yeah, you get to take some of the work. Kind. Well, I'm just glad you're back because you get to take some of the work off me.
Well, yeah, there is that. So, yes, let's begin then with the show. And, I suppose the best place to start is over at the Circuit of the Americas. Not COTA, as everyone calls it. The Circuit of the Americas. Give it its full title. And MotoGP. Well, Liam.
Yeah, over at COTA. I'd like to be controversial, getting on there, Lester. Yeah, so it was Suzuki's Alex Rins who took the spoils this weekend, became the third rider, or the third time if you want to say, that Suzuki has won in the MotoGP class. Now, obviously won the 500 classes with Kevin Schwantz and Kenny Roberts Jr. before that, but third time since MotoGP came into inception back in 2002, it has won a race. So Maverick Vinales won in 2016, and Christopher Mullen won in a very wet Le Mans back in 2007. So Alex Rins is definitely setting at his stall for a bit of a championship bid in 2019. Can he do it? Lots of people are believing he can. None other than Valentino Rossi and Andrea Dovizioso believe that both they two, Marc Marquez and Alex Rins, can be in the championship fight, which is amazing because that is 4 different manufacturers that could be all battling out for the World Championship. And we're not even including the likes of Maverick Vinales, maybe Jorge Lorenzo, if he can maybe sort himself out by the time we get back to Europe. He's only, it was less than 50 points behind the championship leader. He go on a winning streak and work his way back up. You never know. So Alex Rins is a championship contender, in my opinion.
I've got some news for you. I think Rossi may have been saying that to upset Marquez, upset his mentality, and maybe unbalance his mindset, perhaps.
Maybe, or it could be trying to unbalance Alex Rins, because you know Rossi doesn't like to be beaten. Even at 40 years old, Alex Rins is younger enough to be his son. But even if he was his son, he'd probably still try and play with his head. So
yeah, I'm sure if Rossi was feeling fine seconds ago, he's now feeling very old and past it, since the guy who beat him on Sunday is young enough to be his son, according to Leo.
Yeah, but I would think he's feeling past it. I think he's feeling right up for the battle this year. Fire still burning highly in his belly. But the cool thing about Alex Rins' win in Kota is that he is the first rider across all three classes to win at the Circuit of the Americas. So no other rider has been able to do that. To be fair, no other rider's had a chance because Marc Marquez has been winning absolutely everything so far, apart from this weekend, but we'll get onto that a little bit later on. Valentino Rossi, as we know, led much of the race after Marc Marquez crashed out, lost the lead of the race after a fantastic move by Alex Rins through the nicer parts of the circuit, and he managed to get ahead of Valentino Rossi. What are
the nicer parts? Actually, don't. You went on this big rant last week on some of the crap circuits and stuff, but
yeah, I'll say Sector 1. We'll go with that. Sector 1.
Oh, the good bits. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the good bit. The good bit of the circuit. So Rossi scored his second place of the season, which is more second places than what he got last year when he only got one when he was at the Sachsenring. And he's also believing he could fight for the championship, title championship, whatever you want to call it. But he is the first rider since Jack Ahern back in 1966, I believe, this over the age of 40 to score 2 back-to-back podiums. So he's done massively well there. So we might be able to see him fight for more wins in the next few races, maybe even a couple more second places. You never know. He's not out of the championship yet, even though at the start of the season he wasn't believing, or none of us were believing, that he would do quite well. But he seems to be in there in the mix at the moment. So we've only got to wait and see what the doctor can do for the rest of the season. Jack Miller, who is a fan favourite of many, many people, scored his second ever MotoGP podium after him having a horrible moment in warm-up in the morning, saying that he believed that he was going, I'm going to put it bluntly, but going to die in the morning warm-up, because heading down the back straight, we saw in qualifying, Marc Marquez have a massive head shake in qualifying, and Miller was like, how's that happening to him? Then when he went out for his first lap in warm-up, he had exactly the same thing happen, managed to get it back, his feet came off the foot peg, and when he went into the turn 12 corner, there was no brakes, so he had to pull lever 6 times before the pads got back into position. Yeah. 6 times. 6 full times he had to pull. That's how bad that back straight was over the weekend. And you know Jack Miller has some big crashes when he decides to fall off it, if you look back at Le Mans a couple of years ago. So he was very lucky that he managed to get the brakes back before the barrier came towards him. So he's looking very lucky there. Jack Miller news, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He's doing very well ever since his seat came off at Qatar, but he's been looking amazing all throughout winter testing. He is aiming for the factory Ducati seat in 2020. Now, it's not out with his possibility, because if you look at it, he was the best Ducati all weekend at the Circuit of the Americas. The factory Ducatis couldn't get anywhere near him. Championship leader Andrea Dovizioso got kicked out of Q1. Danilo Petrucci made it through to Q2, but didn't really make much of an impression the whole weekend. At least Dovizioso made it up the field. But Jack Miller is definitely setting at a stall to try and get that factory Ducati seat for 2020. There's only one other person that I believe that can maybe challenge him for that, but I might wait until Ed talks about the World Superbikes later on before that happens. Maybe. Andrea Dovizioso got to be the luckiest man and got to have the biggest surprise of the entire weekend. Damage limitation comes out of the meeting at one of his worst circuits, one of Ducati's worst circuits on the entire calendar. As championship leader again by 3 points over Valentino Rossi, and I think it's over 12 over Marc Marquez, or maybe a little bit less than that, but he's got to be counting his lucky eggs. No Easter puns intended there, but that was Andrea Dovizioso back in the lead of the championship and heading towards Europe, where the Ducati and himself should be a lot more competitive, apart from maybe Jerez, because he's never been that great there. last year was his best example of him being competitive before he had that unfortunate crash with Dani Pedrosa and Jorge Lorenzo. But Andrea Dovizioso back in leader of the championship. Who would have expected that before the start of the weekend? And talking about the start of the weekend, we all went in there believing that Marc Marquez would do the full 7 out of 7.
Well, no, we didn't.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
No, we definitely
Everyone
didn't.
apart from you, Lester.
I knew what was about to happen, and and everybody else just followed like sheep. Some suggestion that Marquez, just because he'd won 6 before previously, that
He'd
he was
won all the previous MotoGP races to be held there.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and
and
I
it
said
wasn't-
right here on this show, he won't win this weekend. Last week,
But you didn't say that because you believed that you just wanted to go against what I said.
I did not. No. It
Lester,
was
be argumentative.
It was partly because of that, but I did also say he will not win.
You're right, yeah. And to be honest, I was watching the race with my girlfriend. It's only the second time she's watched MotoGP, and she knows all about Marc Marquez. And I just kept boring her with the stats of it. But she said he's not going to win. So she backed you up there, Lester. And basically because her reasoning behind it, and I thought maybe this was your reasoning behind it as well, Lester, is that she said that when you start winning, you start to believe in yourself too much and get overconfident and cocky. So that's why she believed he fell off, which I thought was quite funny. So
Potentially,
I thought maybe that's what your point was. But yeah, I've been getting branded a commentator's curse type of guy now after Sunday's race, because I did say something down the lines that either Marc Marquez will win the race or he will crash out the lead of the race, and he did that.
I think you said he'll walk it, definitely. He'll definitely something to that. I think I have the clip somewhere, and we put it up earlier on. But
yeah, we did. I'm actually surprised it's not on the show. I thought you would be playing it just to rub it in my face.
Oh yeah, the show is still early yet. But I definitely did say, and I was probably the only person to go against the tide of opinion, popular opinion, and say actually Marquez would not win at the Circuit in the Americas. Don't know what would have happened. Obviously, he probably would have crashed because you can't see anyone beating him on track in his current form. And as he was definitely dominating up until the time where, was it the cat? Was it the meme that pushed him off? Or was it the cat
No, that was Iker Lecuona in Moto 2.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
but,
different category.
Okay, we'll get onto that later. But anyway, yeah, Marquez, I knew he wouldn't win anyway. And I don't have to justify it. I was just right. I'm just a bit disappointed that I didn't put any money on it. So.
Yeah, I think most people are, because if you bet your house on it that he would crash out, then you probably would have won a lot of money for that. Got the mortgage paid off at the very least.
Thank you.
There, but sorry, Lester. But Marc Marquez, I don't know whether you can say that has he been beaten yet in America, because no one has technically beaten him apart from Marquez himself.
Apart from the full field when he crashed.
Yeah, but he never finished the race.
It's a bit like how they used to say with John McGuinness with the big bike race at the TT. For so many years, no one had beaten him in a big bike race that he'd reached the finish line.
Yeah, but to finish first you've got to finish.
Yes,
and if you don't finish,
the point
then you
is
don't hold your record.
The point is, though, that he stays on track, he wins the race, no one beats him, of course.
Apart from the fact when he didn't stay on track.
Crashing out is obviously... But he was so far ahead, the argument can still stand that, well, he beat himself. So it's,
I think
until someone beats him in a straight fight over the finish line at Kota, there's always going to be the question of can anyone actually genuinely beat Marquez around it. So
I always don't like those types of... I think they're a bit lazy arguments, to be honest, because I think in another motorsport, which is world famous, when Sebastian Vettel was dominating, there were very few side-by-side battles, and everyone had the opinion that, Alonso, if he were just given a chance, and people were making excuses as to why the guy... leading wasn't necessarily the greatest, or why someone who wasn't winning would have been the greatest, or why he would have won, if only for the fact that he was getting beaten all the time, for example. And they're lazy arguments. There's nothing else to say. But I understand what you're saying. That if Marquez would have stayed on the bike, would have finished first, then yes, you're absolutely right. He would have maintained his absolute record, but he didn't, so he hasn't.
I thought it was a bit of a strange race, because that was also the first time in a very long time I can remember that all 3 factory Hondas failed to finish the race, and they all had technical issues in that race. It was discovered afterwards as to why they all stopped, or crashed out. So it was, Marquez Lorenzo, they had the chain trouble, or plagued Marquez a bit in Argentina, and Lorenzo, it happened on Saturday. It happened to both of them during the race. What they discovered that they had was that it's the carbon swing arm, that it's actually flexing too much, and so it's actually slapping into the chain as it's moving, forcing it out of its sprocket, and it's basically causing havoc with them.
Well, who doesn't know that about carbon swing arms, eh?
Hey, Charles, you don't know it, then we're never going to know it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like I've just opened a floodgates of arguments about it and Marquez getting beaten there. So maybe the comment section's lighting up at the moment with that one. Marquez probably technically hasn't been beaten, but he has been beaten. So it was an unfortunate incident from him, which is also an unfortunate incident that happened because he would have equalled Valentino Rossi's record of most consecutive race wins at a certain circuit in the MotoGP class when he set that from Mugello 2002 to 2008. So he's going to miss out on that record. But then again, starting off in 2020, he might do it over the next 7 seasons after that. He's that fast around the Circuit of the Americas. If it stays on the calendar, which it probably will, then you never know what he can do. Coming over to Maverick Vinales over in the other Yamaha. Another horrendous weekend from Maverick Vinales after he sees his much more experienced teammate at the moment, Valentino Rossi, just racking in the points while he is kind of throwing them away. If I'm going to be that harsh about it. Jump to start, it was a minuscule of a jump start, but it was more so than Johan Mir's and more so than what Cal Crutchlow done 2 weeks ago at Argentina. But he basically sort of not misinterpreted the rules, but they talked about what rules should be applied to a rider if they jump the start. And the Safety Commission on Friday, he sort of misinterpreted what they said. They said, no, we'll just keep the jump start, keep the ride through penalty as the penalty. So what he done on the lap that he was supposed to come in, he actually took the long lap penalty, which lost him another 2 seconds. Wouldn't really made much difference after he jumped the start, but also had to do a ride through penalty.
So why did they change from that extra sort of ride loop, whatever it's called, the penalty joker thing? Why did they change that to a ride through? So
basically, if you jump the start, it was always a ride through. If you ran off the track and exceeded the track limits on more than 3 occasions, you had to do the long lap penalty. So that's how that worked. So it was discussed if you jumped the start, you would do the long lap penalty, but Cal Crutchlow obviously didn't want that to happen because then people would get less of a penalty than what he got in Argentina, which, to be fair to Cal Crutchlow, he's absolutely right about that. It's not fair that he gets a ride through penalty in Argentina and then 2 people get a long lap penalty because they've jumped the start, exactly the same as what Cal Crutchlow done 2 weeks earlier.
It's not fair on the other riders who don't jump the start.
Well, I mean, they jump the start and then they don't get right through penalties, so they're okay, they're good to go, clean as a whistle. So no issue there. But the good thing is Lucy finished the race this time and wasn't taken out by another rider when it looked like he could have been, because when he came up behind the Vintia Ducatis of Tito Rabat and Carol Abraham, they were having their own wee battle, and it looked like Maverick Vinales might have gotten taken out by them because they looked like they were going at a hammer and tongue. Talking of Maverick Vinales getting wiped out at some point, Franco Morbidelli scored his best ever MotoGP not podium but result, 5th place. So Franco Morbidelli's going about his job. He seems to be overshadowed a little bit by his rookie teammate Fabio Quartararo, and of course the factory Yamahas, but he's just going about his business.
He finished ahead of him though, didn't he?
He finished ahead of him, so he's still got the bragging rights in the team at the moment, so he's just going about his job. 5th place, fantastic top 5 result, was ahead of Andrea Dovizioso for most of the race until Andrea Dovizioso got his head around his issues and passed him and cleared off into the distance to chase after Jack Miller. And Cal Crutchlow, everyone's favourite bad boy, has, will he say the right thing? Won't he say the right thing? Believes he threw away an easy podium when he was chasing Rossi in 3rd spot.
Don't you mean an easy win? He could have won that.
I was just about to say, possibly a win. If he didn't crash out, he was comfortably the 2nd fastest rider all weekend, if it wasn't for Marc Marquez, he would have been the fastest. So if he didn't crash out, he could possibly have won the race. It could have been him clearing off, run away into distance after Marquez crashed out. And yeah, we could be sitting here talking about a Cal Crutchlow win, but unfortunate for him, and something that tends to happen quite a lot at Kota. He does tend to slip off the bike, which is a shame because it would have been great to have seen him. I'm not getting into that. That's a bit unfair saying that about Cal Crutchlow, but I know you really want to talk about that, so I'll quickly move on to the riders wanting a change at the Circuit of the Americas because the bumps were outrageous. I believe Danilo Petrucci said it was worse than any other circuit they go to. There's potholes everywhere.
Worse than Silverstone. Don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, Silverstone's actually not too bad if it's dry. Cal Crutchlow said it was worse than Thruxton, so that's saying something. We know Thruxton.
That famous MotoGP track, Thruxton.
Yeah. I mean, Cal Crutchlow raced there about 12 years ago or something. 2008. Yeah, 11 years ago. So I'm pretty sure it's been resurfaced since then. So maybe he's a little bit inaccurate with what he said on Circuit of the Americas. But as I said earlier on, Jack Miller had a horrendous tank slapper in the back straight in morning warm-up. Marc Marquez had it a couple of times on Friday practice and, of course, in qualifying, which made... I don't know how he stayed on it, but I believe it broke something on the front of his bike when it happened during the practice sessions. Can't remember exactly if that did happen, but they really have to do something about the bumps at Circuit of the Americas. Turns 2, 9, 10, and of course the back straight are the worst for it at the moment. And they don't believe there's going to be the whole track resurfaced for next year, but maybe patches of it can be, which is a little bit, I wouldn't say lazy, but stingy on what Circuit of the Americas.
That's just another word for lazy.
Yeah, but stingy. But they've got enough money to pay it out, but they just won't for whatever reason. Remember last year they tried to grind down the bumps, and it just completely created a dust storm. And this year the bumps are worse than they ever were. So they're going to have to do something drastic. And if not, then maybe MotoGP should be looking elsewhere in America to go to another circuit. So
you think there is actually a better international grade circuit in the States right now, do you?
There's not, unfortunately, but if there's a circuit that's got the money, then they could do the redevelopment plans to make it better.
It comes down to money, but I mean, when it comes to the actual motorbikes, I know people like to criticise it because it was pound flat, but there was actually nothing wrong with the Indianapolis circuit that the MotoGP guys used to ride around. I mean, technically, from a track point of view, there's nothing wrong with Laguna Seca. That was all down to the size of the paddock, in that they just couldn't bring Moto 2 and Moto 3 with them, as it's absolutely minute.
Yeah, it's also quite unsafe as well. The MotoGP bikes are quite powerful, and there's some parts of the circuit that Laguna don't own just beyond that, so they can't extend too much back. For example, the corkscrew, I think that bit you can't really push that back, so that's obviously the biggest.
With the corkscrew, they tend to get away with it because it's a first gear corner, so at the top. So it's slower speed, you can get away with it. The main reason for leaving site was the lack of size in the paddock. Kota is the best, or I suppose, all-round quick fix solution. They needed a circuit because the riders were complaining that Indianapolis was too flat, so they didn't actually know how far they could lean in actually on the corners. Kota, obviously, with all of its changes, undulation, banking, it gives them obviously a lot more feedback. Circuit itself, general thing, there's the bumps. It's also too long for the MotoGP. You see just how strung out they all get within, the first couple of laps. If nobody crashes, you can call the finishing order by the end of the second or the third lap. So of the race, usually. So we got a bit of a surprise this year. So we got away with it. There have been talks, or there certainly were last year. I don't know if they resurfaced this year. Perhaps you'll know a bit more about this. That they were thinking of using a slightly shortened version of the circuit. So kind of cutting off the long back straight at the end and keeping it more towards the stadium part of the circuit. So you'd have about half of the Beckett Suzuka S's section, and then it suddenly loops around and it joins the Hockenheim Istanbul section back to the finishing loop. So it would cut about 45 seconds off the time. So it would end up with about a minute 25, minute 30 lap time. Which incidentally is also the better tarmac as well. So maybe it's a quick solution maybe for the future.
Possibly.
Yeah, but it doesn't really get rid of the worst part of the circuit, which is the stop-start section of the circuit. And that's the bit that really strings the bikes out. As I said last week, it's great for car racing, the circuit.
Oh, yeah.
Bike racing, it's not brilliant at all.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It's done wonders, actually, for Formula One and the other car races that go there. It's a brilliant car racing circuit. But yeah, for the bikes, it's because the bikes fundamentally corner so much slower than the cars do, even though, F1 cars are a good 15, 20 mile an hour faster in a straight line than an F1 car. They've become so far strung out, as you say, over the course of a lap, and it's just too long for them. It's, a good 2 minute, 10-second lap, I think. That's out of Dakota, which is pushing it for, how long is sensible, because it does string the field out, and you can call the race from a very early part with so many laps left in the race. You're relying on people to crash out to create an exciting race, which is not really why most of us watch the racing itself. We like to see the close overtakes, and COTA hasn't really helped with that over the years.
So back to the what happened in the actual race, and it wasn't an all-time thriller, but it was still packed with anticipation, and certainly I think the biggest incident, I think, came it was like midway through the race, I think, when Cal went down, and from then it was only a couple of laps until Marquez went down, and then unseen by the cameras live, there was that weird moment where we was looking at the back of Lorenzo's head, and we was like, is that like a replay? It was like the weird thing, but yeah, you were mentioning that Lorenzo, and he had another horrible weekend. What was his excuse this time?
Basically just a technical fault with the bike. He had the chain come off in qualifying when he was behind Marc Marquez. He wasn't following Marc Marquez because Marc Marquez caught him up on that lap and passed him. And then as he crossed the start finish line, his chain came off. And quite comical when he parked the bike up in a similar fashion to what Marc Marquez done back in 2015. His bike fell down. So Lorenzo's having a horrible start to the 2019 season. As I said earlier on, he could probably still come back and win the championship, or challenge for the championship. Sorry, not win it, but challenge for it, because he's less than 50 points behind Andrea Dovizioso. And with the way things are going at the moment, it's still all to play for. So if he starts getting his head around that Honda and starts working his way back up the field like he did in 2018 with Ducati, you never know what can happen with Lorenzo. Technical fault with the bike at the moment. He had problems in Argentina when he hit the pit lane limiter off the start, and then obviously broke his rib in Qatar after he high-sided in FP3, and on the back of that he obviously broke his scaphoid over winter, which is still healing, so it's taking a little bit of time to heal. So Lorenzo is not having a fantastic time of things at the moment. So yeah, basically the Lorenzo news of it at the moment.
Yeah, it's not going at all well for him, really, and he's had almost no good news this season.
No.
So far, let's say, because he could turn it around. Or I actually said on our sort of team chat online that he's going to retire this year.
Oh, you freaked me out with that. I woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and I was like, Lorenzo's retiring? What?
Lester likes to send wind up to people at 7 in the morning.
That was the ultimate clickbait. I went onto Google and searched through all the major motorsport websites to see if I could find that.
No, it was just a thought that popped into my head, and then I'd gone back and I'd read online some of the reports about him possibly retiring at the end of last year. So, I mean, he's not having a good time of it this year. I mean, basically, other than money, he's got no reason to stay, has he? Because he's definitely probably not enjoying riding at the moment.
He's got another year on his contract, year and a half on his contract.
Contracts don't mean anything.
Yeah, but remember how bad he was in his first year at Ducati, and then how good he was for most of the part in 2018. I'm starting to forget my years. The weird fact I did realise is that he hasn't had a podium since his win in Austria just after the summer last year, which is crazy to think of. I think it was a top 10. He's not had a top 10 since then, which is even more wild to even think of.
Yeah.
So
that is not had a top 10 since Austria.
Yeah, because obviously
that is, I'm going to...
Because with injury
I find that
stuff,
unbelievable that if he hasn't, because this is Lorenzo, one of, if not the most consistent MotoGP rider of the last 10 years, that he's, or certainly, well, maybe not since it's been a bit up and down since he's left Yamaha. But I can see where Leicester's coming from, even though it was a wind-up in that...
It wasn't a wind-up, it was just a genuine thought. Like I thought that
Marquez he doesn't have anything left to prove, really, because he's a 3-time world champion, Premier Class world champion, 5 times if you include his junior.
This performance is only damaging his legacy.
If it carries on like this all the way through the year, absolutely it would. I know he could say, he could turn around to the Rossi fans who like to hate him that, well, I managed to win on Ducati, you did, but of course now he's being soundly beaten by Marquez, and when Marquez isn't going to be there, you'd have to say Crutchlow's probably going to do a better job than Lorenzo this season on the Honda as well. So it's, I mean, yes, he has had a lot of injury problems and over the off season, and he's still struggling with quite a few now. I mean, you just have to look the way he was half running, half limping down the pit lane to show that he's still not quite right with his body. But at the same time, you know, Honda will be expecting results to come very soon. We're going back to one of his strongest circuits, Jerez. When he comes to Europe, Lorenzo's never really shone in Argentina or Cota before. So, aside from a couple of very dominant performances on the Yamaha in Qatar, the first flyaways of the year he's never really gelled with. So the clock is ticking, but when he comes back to Europe, you usually see the best part of Lorenzo that comes through. So he's got to click quickly. I don't think he can get away with having, you know, a poor year like he did with Ducati in 2017, because I think Honda will show him the door. Who Honda would choose to replace him with, well, that could be anyone really who they want to go with. It's Lorenzo does have to find a way to step up, because, you know, he's been saying, of course, practice sessions, testing, how he felt more comfortable with the Honda than he ever did with Ducati. But the results, actually, they're even worse, I think, than his start with Ducati. So it's...
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, if your body isn't up to it and you're physically degrading, and he is...
It's a bit like Danny Pedrosa, maybe, in his final year, you know, when your time's up in MotoGP, when you're gone, you're gone. Has, you know, in the nicest possible way, has Lorenzo just gone over the other side of a hill, and it's now going to be rapidly downhill for him until he retires and calls it a day. We don't know. We don't know what Lorenzo we're getting each week, but it's certainly not the dominant Lorenzo of yesteryear.
I think it's too early to write him off. Wait until we get to at least Mugello. And
that's only 3 rounds away.
It's not too long away, but we've got to see how well he does when we get back to Europe. If he starts showing improvements, then I wouldn't say he's over the hill and finished. But if he's still finishing outside the top 10, then we could possibly start looking into, is he really done?
Well,
I mean, Mugello is where traditionally the big rider announcements of the year are made as well.
And that was one of his strongest circuits. Even back in his Yamaha days, he was unbeatable there for a long time. And then destroyed everyone last year in Ducati.
I thought in Mugello 2016 was his finest win, where he beat Marquez in that last lap, dragged to the line. And the two of them were fighting, and you finally saw Lorenzo, probably for the only time in his Premier Class career, properly get the knives out on someone who wasn't Rossi. So, and it was, it's Lorenzo fighting with his fellow countrymen, because there'd always been needle between him and Pedrosa, but there'd always been an undertone of respect as well. They wouldn't actually try and send each other into the wall. Him and Marquez were going absolute hammer and tongs. It was, I'm winning, or we're both finishing in the gravel. And it was probably his finest hour in MotoGP. I certainly think it was for him. And yes, I would love to see that Lorenzo back, because on his day, he is an incredible rider. It just seems to me that he is just slipping away.
He's had his day now.
He's had his day, and I don't, in the nicest possible way, because I love Danny Pedrosa, I don't want him to hang around in MotoGP as long as Pedrosa did, because that last season for Pedrosa last year was just painful to watch. Frankly, it was painful. So I think, if results don't come by Mugello, which is only 3 rounds' time, if you're certainly not getting back into the top 10, which he should be capable of doing on that bike easily, you've got to. Honda will certainly start wondering, are we better off looking elsewhere for another rider?
Well, Luke Lehman's been on. He's said, regarding Lorenzo anyway, he's battered. He needs time away to recover. Can't beat a fit Lorenzo. Just suggesting along the same lines as what you said, Ed.
In fairness to that, going away half a break, I mean, a great example of that can work is, remember 2009, Casey Stoner, he spent 5 or 6 rounds out of a championship out there. He wasn't injured, but he was ill. He took away, and he came back stronger than ever. So it could happen. Honda would probably stopgap field Bradl in the Repsol Honda team in Lorenzo's absence. It could work with Lorenzo because he's got a lot of pride. He's a very stubborn individual, as all racers are, to be fair to them, especially if they're multiple world champions. Would he be able to kind of swallow that pill and do that? I'd be in favour of it if it would mean he would come back a better rider, because I still think he's got, one more world championship left in him.
Well, Alan Stanning's been on as well. Sorry to interrupt, Liam. He says, I'm a Rossi fan and don't hate Lorenzo. He's just not the same man anymore. He looks like a rookie on that Honda at the moment. Bit harsh, Alan.
You sure you don't hate him?
And Rob Rolls has rolled in on the show. Hello, Rob. And he said that for Rossi's age, he's mighty, really, showing the youngsters what's what, I suppose, says Rob. A big hello to Dan Green, who also suggested he has lost his bottle. I think he was referring to maybe Lorenzo. I don't know if, Dan, you might want to fill us in on that. Nat Jarvis tuned in. Hello, good evening, Nat, and to Russell Pugh as well, and to Daniel Drayton, and to Peter Backhurst, who's tuned in from sunny USA, not jealous at all.
Hey.
And Ryan Lilly and Steve Godfrey as well, regular listener. And Jimmy Harvey as well, who asks, what is your pick to win BSB this year? Jimmy, we will get onto that. Stay tuned, because we will be talking about the Superbikes Challenge game later on in the show, which is definitely one to stay tuned for. We'll tell you exactly how you can win some amazing prizes a bit later on. It is the Superbike Show. We are talking about not only BSB and everything else, but also MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3. And we were just wrapping up with MotoGP, I think. We're apart from, yes, we've got one more thing to mention, Liam, and the amazing, beautiful, wonderful tribute to Nicky Hayden.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. There was a press conference held on the Friday where Nicky Hayden's family was in attendance, his dad Earl, his mum Rose, Tommy, and obviously Roger Lee. And it was great to watch, but it was so sad at the same time, because Nicky Hayden, world champion in 2006, the nicest guy. He's the highest regarded person that anyone ever met in MotoGP. Always a big smile on his face, and he's sadly missed. And watching the press conference was hard to watch because it was very emotional. But the number 69 has been retired, and Nicky Hayden will ride on in the rest of our hearts.
Definitely. And it was a nice tribute, I think, Ed, to Nicky Hayden. And if you didn't know, his number being retired now, so if anybody in future might want to ride with his old number, then they'd have to seek special permission, I think, from the family is how it...
I want to say one last thing. Tom Booth Amos in Moto3 did ask the Hayden permission to run a version of Nicky Hayden 69 throughout the weekend, and they gave him permission, so that was a really nice touching tribute from Tom Booth Amos. Yeah,
definitely. So are we all wrapped up then with MotoGP? Any last bits of things that we need to know?
Just a couple of wee facts. Fabio Quartararo was the highest finishing teenage rookie, finishing 7th. He equals John Hopkins from 2002. And this is a wee random fact, though, in there anyway. 15 years ago today was when Valentino Rossi won his first ever Yamaha race at South Africa.
What, today? Or
yeah, today. 15 years ago today. So the date. Okay. Yeah, so there we go.
Well researched, if in fact you did do that.
MotoGP.com. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you once again. The archive, treasure trove of facts, MotoGP.com, and certainly helped us out along the way. Now, I suppose we've got a bit of a question to ask, something I teased you with a bit earlier. And that is, so I think you asked earlier, can Rins and Suzuki actually win the championship? And that's not going to be the question because it's obviously a no. Don't know,
I think it's a yes.
It's a yes, he can.
I'm obviously going to be correct and say no. Don't be stupid. 100% record so far, unless I'm wrong.
Hang on, we're not saying he will. We're just saying he can.
Well, that's like saying.
The bike's got.
That's like saying Cal
there.
Crutchlow can win the championship.
And he can.
I'm going one further and saying he won't. Rins, I'm talking about. Because we all know Cal could. But that brings me on to my next question. How many opportunities can Crutchlow be allowed to keep on missing before he's dumped into BSB?
Oh, well, that's harsh.
What was it?
Because,
was it?
well, Cal Crutchlow's still outperforming Lorenzo and his teammate Nakagami, and he scored third place in Qatar, which was, a few months after he smashed his ankle in Phillip Island, and he had a horrible winter recuperating, came back third place first race.
I'm not saying his comeback hasn't been fantastic. It has. But there's no point coming back and then keep falling over.
That was his first crash out of the season.
Yeah,
it feels like so many more, though.
He got...
That's a tough one because
his last crash was the one in Australia, which put him out for the rest of the season. So it was... I think he's being incredibly harsh asking that question.
He's got a reputation.
It wasn't
just talking about this season.
Marquez crashed out as well of the lead of the race.
Yeah.
So you could be saying, can Marquez be dumped down to BSB as well next season?
Well, I knew for a start.
Imagine that.
I knew he was going
to BSB.
I knew he wasn't going to finish first, Marquez. So I'm just saying, just saying. But in general, because I mean, if you want to actually compare them, let's see who has the many crashes over the past 3 seasons.
Okay,
Crutchlow or Marquez.
Marquez
and who's crashed out of the lead
always
more?
Has the most crashes. He's always topping the MotoGP crash list every single year because what he does is he pushes it so hard in practice and qualifying, crashes out. Then, to be fair to Marc Marquez, he doesn't crash that often in the race anymore, and because he wins them most of the time. And
Crutchlow was in a position where he could have. He might not. No, fair. Yes, he didn't know that Marquez was also going to fly off the road, but he was in a position at that time when he was right all over the back of second place Rossi, and he could have actually won that race, but didn't.
But he could have got a third.
Yeah.
But easy podium. He would have been on the podium. Well, guarantee that. But it's a bit harsh on Cal Crutchlow.
It was just a question. It was just a question. For the record, I would like him to see him do well.
To answer the question, how many opportunities can he be allowed to keep? Quite a few more. In the answer, it's he's the only British rider since Barry Sheene to win a Premier Class race. He's won 3 of them.
Was that the same race where everybody else also didn't?
He's consistently up there in the top 10 every week. His qualifying pace has, if anything, has got faster over the years as well. It comes through. His race starts, they used to be a big problem. His race starts when he first came into MotoGP, he was kind of hitting the reverse gear, which Vinales is now kind of taken over as the master of. It's Crutchlow now rarely loses anything off the start line as well. He's always like that. Yes, he crashed out of this race in America, but he was on the podium back in Qatar. Had he not have got that very, very debatable jump start penalty in Argentina, he would have been second. There's no doubt about that. Everyone knows he would have.
Was that though? That he got penalised and didn't, and again missed out on another opportunity.
Given that he wasn't moving forward as the lights went out, and the stewards are advised to use discretion where possible, it's the stewards really, they should have used a bit of common sense there and realised, actually, he didn't jump the start. So,
well, Bruce Ingram,
that's aside,
anyway.
He hadn't thrown away an opportunity. That was the stewards took an opportunity away from him by what they deemed to have scene.
That sounds a bit like a...
yeah, but it's different from crashing out of a race and saying, he's thrown an opportunity away.
You can't blame anybody else. You can't blame the stewards for upholding the rules
if you jump
the start.
The next, I don't know, we get to Mugello and he's crashed out of the next 3 races, then bring the question back.
Okay,
and ask. But I think, come on, he was on the podium a couple of races before. You said that he would have
won the championship if it wasn't for those pesky old referees.
The best part of a minute behind everyone else after the drive-through penalty. So you can't really ask that question after just one crash in the season.
And one penalty where you said he would have definitely been on the podium, and Bruce Ingram agrees with me to some extent. Anyway, he says Crutchlow makes far too many mistakes. So, and he does have a reputation for doing so.
I think he'll be okay as long as when he does stay on, he's beating who he needs to beat, which is the other factory riders. And if he's still beating Lorenzo and Nakagami, then he'll be all right, because when he does perform, when he does stay on, he's always up within the top 5.
Yeah, and as I say, for the record, we do want Cal to do well. Maybe I am being a bit harsh on him just because we've got so much expectation on him. He's a previous race winner. And I think there was the race where, yes, everybody didn't start on their grid positions, and literally there was only one guy. Am I right? Was that Argentina?
That was Jack Miller, Argentina, last year.
Yeah.
And he won that one. Yeah, so...
Yeah, that's like, it's just like in F1, Indy 5, 2015, where there was only like 6 starters or something. But, just saying.
Quite...
Luke Lehman has been on, and hello Luke, still tuned in, and this is on the streaming on the BSB and supporters group on Facebook, by the way, so go and check that out. He says Cal may be on a Suzuki. Now that would be a good season, he says.
I don't see that happening with the way Alex Rins is going, and then Suzuki are putting a lot of eggs in their basket with Johan Mir as well, so maybe if those two fall out next year, then maybe 2021. Cal Crutchlow, if he's still performing, could be on the Suzuki, but for the foreseeable future, I think Suzuki have a really good rider pairing there. Johan Mir and Alex Rins. In a couple of years, they're going to be challenging Marc Marquez.
Well, even one of them jumped the start of the weekend anyway.
Johan Mir's only on his 3rd race. We can let him away with it.
Okay.
He's a rookie.
Go on, Ed.
Yeah, there was also just, the Crutchlow might anyway not be in MotoGP for beyond his current contract, because he said last year when he was offered that he was genuinely serious that it might be his final contract in MotoGP, because he was talking about how he's nearly achieved everything he wants to do in the sport and how he wants to spend time with his family afterwards. So
BSB it is.
And the fact that he's never ridden, to my knowledge, he's never raced competitively in the pro ranks on a Suzuki, would probably say, why would you jump ship to go at the end of your MotoGP career to a different factory that you have very little experience of, if none at all? So, but he's loved at Honda. He loves Honda, especially the LCR team. They're just a perfect match together. He's factory supported there with HRC, which is one of the top gongs you can get as a rider. It could be successful. Let's just hypothetically say that he could be successful if he was on Suzuki, because the bike, it corners far more easily than pretty much any of the other bikes does on the field. In a straight line, it's more than capable now of holding its own. Suzuki have made real progress in that department. So yeah, theoretically, it could be very successful, but like Liam has said, Suzuki have their own rider program. That's all there. Alex Rins is their number 1 rider, rightly so. Mir is the prodigy coming through, who I think, given this year to settle in, and then he's going to be incredible. The more experience he has, and there's whispers that a certain BSB rider wants to break into MotoGP, who's already riding Suzuki in the championship. So,
hi, Brad.
X-Star might be looking. They will probably look for a younger rider, because Crutchlow's, like any other rider, the other side of 30. It's, they tend to not look for the older riders simply because longevity. They want the new young up and coming stars in their team. But certainly from a theoretical point of view, given the way the bike handles, and Cal will always ride a bike to his limit, absolutely. It could be a success on it. Would it happen? I don't think so.
So no is the answer then. Good. All right. MotoGP dispatched to one side. We have lots of stuff to talk about this evening. It is the Superbike show. It is Motorsport Radio, and we've got Moto 2, Moto 3 discussions to come, as well as a fantastic interview that Liam did a short while ago with Fenton Seabright. Stay tuned for that. Who is Fenton Seabright? You'll find out, if you don't already know, later.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
I am Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
And we are live on a Thursday night. It is the Superbike Show. Hello and good evening. My name is Lester. We've got Ed Hocknell here, Motorsport Radio journalist, and Liam Hodgins, live from Scotland. Don't know why I keep making that a point, but he's here anyway. We are all over the social medias right now. It's at M Sport Radio on Twitter. We're also streaming, I think, for some reason, on the at Single Seaters News Twitter account. But hello, guys, if you tuned in there anyway. I think I forgot to turn it off from Monday's show, but there you go. And also, we're on the Facebooks as well. A lot of people tune in all over the world on Facebook. So if you're tuned in via that, say hello, leave a comment in the comments box below. Maybe a nice comment for a change. And you can also check us out on the good old-fashioned website, motorsport.radio. That is the web address to go to. Loads of articles and previews and reviews and exclusives as well, all on there, from our team of journalists, Ed Hocknell and Liam Hodgins, and we've got loads of people, basically. And so Ed, what is planned, just putting you on the spot now, what is planned this week for the website? Any fantastic articles? Actually, saying that though, I'll give you time to think.
This weekend,
Go on.
I probably won't be putting anything up this weekend, although it's starting from next week. There'll be stuff going up because, of course, I'm going to be at Silverstone this weekend, so I'll be battering my way down in the paddock and pits and here, there, and everywhere, trying to get some inside scoops on British Superbikes. So hopefully lots of things will be starting to emerge over the next few weeks in that department.
Very good.
Also next week, the road racing season gets underway. So next week there will be a guide preview to the Cookstown 100. That'll be on there as well. There won't be a huge great deal of World Superbike stuff because they've now begun their first big break of the year. They've got a whole month between now and the next time they reconvene at the wonderful Imola circuit for the Italian round. So, yeah, but
lots of stuff.
We're going to have lots of BSB and road racing stuff next week. That's going to be going up. So keep your eyes peeled on the website for all of that.
And on motorsport.radio, we don't often make a huge fuss about big things that we've got coming, usually because we like to just put it out there and then make a big fuss and say, look what we've got. So we've got like interviews and some such big news. However, we have got a big announcement on Monday on Motorsport Radio, and it is a big announcement. We're pretty pleased with it. I can't say any more than that. Those who know, them guys. Pretty. It took about a year for this to come together, and big announcement on Monday. So keep an eye out for the Motorsport Radio timeline on your social medias. So that's all I'll say about that. Right, this is the Superbike show, and we move swiftly into Moto 2 and Moto 3 because later on we've still got Fenton Seabright coming along, so we don't want to keep him waiting, even though it is pre-recorded, but we don't want to keep you waiting. Moto 2, and interesting one, and there wasn't, again, that much going on. However, it was a decent race for Tom Luthi.
Yeah, Tom Luthi did have a bit of a tough race at the start with Alex Marquez. Alex Marquez did take the lead of the race quite early on, and every time Thomas Luthi did take the lead from Alex Marquez, in typical Marquez fashion, decided to slam him straight back up the inside of him and didn't care if he was going to take him out or not. But Alex Marquez dropped in the field a little bit later on. But Thomas Luthi, as soon as he got into the lead of the race, no one headed him. So It was his first win since Misano 2017 on his 270th Grand Prix race start. So if you don't really know the background of Tom Lutey, he did the 125s long time ago. Became the 2005 125 champion, and then moved into 250s where he didn't have a lot of success. But as soon as Moto 2 came around, he's been finishing runner-up or within the top 3 pretty much every single season he's raced there. And last season had an unfortunate season of scoring no points within the MotoGP class. So it's great to see Thomas Lutey back to his winning ways. And saying that, it was a great weekend for the Dynavolt team. Their first ever 1-2 finish in any class, with Marcel Schroeter scoring another second place. Well, I say another second place. It was another podium. Got third to the first round and then second place here at the Circuit of the Americas. Could he have gone with Thomas Lutey? Probably not, but then again, he was looking good for the championship. Only 3 points behind Lorenzo Baldassarri, who had a horrible weekend from start to finish. He's never gone well at the Circuit of the Americas. His best finish over the years has been 10th, and that was in 2018. So, once again, Lorenzo Baldassarri had a fairly okay qualifying compared to how the weekend was going, but didn't even make it past lap 1. Horrible start. Got stuck in the middle of the pack, and coming out of turn number 9, Jorge Martin on the KTM in front of him had a massive wobble, and basically Lorenzo Baldassarri just ran up the back of him and down he went. So that was him out of the race. Still leads the championship by 3 points ahead of Marcel Schroeter on 50 points. So, I mean, he didn't finish the race, but he's lucky he still come out of this weekend as championship leader. His downfall was probably the great upturn of Speed Up as they returned to the podium for the first time, I believe, since 2015 when Sam Lowes won his first ever race in Moto2 at the Circuit of the Americas. Jorge Navarro got third place, his first ever podium within the class. He's been working away at it for the last couple of years. Switched over from Kalex to Speed Up, and he was coming through the field at a rate of knots. If it wasn't for him getting into a bit of a battle with Alex Marquez, then we could have seen him maybe even get Marcel Schroeter towards the end of the race as well. He wouldn't have got past Thomas Lutey because he was gone up the road by a few seconds. And it was a returning Matteo Piscini, scored 4th spot. It was great to see him back. He was with the Sito Pons team, replacing Augusto Fernandez, who had a horrible crash, breaking a couple of bones within his wrist at Argentina during the weekend. And the first ever time that he'd ridden a bike with a Triumph engine, scored 4th spot, showed up his teammate most of the weekend, qualified behind him, but as Lorenzo Baldassarri crashed out, Matteo Piscini just done a fantastic traditional Matteo Piscini ride. Started off not too strongly and then just worked his way through the field. And if it wasn't for him getting into a battle with Alex Marquez and Luca Marini, then you never know. Maybe he could have been third. So it was what could have happened, ifs, buts, maybes, but fingers crossed we see Piscini back for the next round. If Augusto Fernandez isn't back, we'd love to see him back as well. But maybe we'll see Matteo Piscini in a permanent ride throughout the rest of the season, which would be great to see him back. And unfortunately for all British fans, Sam Lowes didn't have a great weekend. Just couldn't really find the pace of the bike. But even worse for Jake Dixon, who didn't make it past free practice 1. He had a horrible horrible crash coming into turn 12 and suffered concussion, so he missed the rest of the weekend. So fingers crossed we'll see him back to full fitness for Jerez, where he has actually tested the bike, so he'll be coming to a circuit that he knows on a bike that he's been testing at before. So we might be able to see Jake Dixon have a more solid weekend in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
So
go on.
Yeah. So yeah. I was going to say, fingers crossed that it'll be good to see him back up near the front. I say back up near the front, but obviously we've seen him up the front in BSB
and improved.
Maybe in the top 10. Yeah, improved.
Yeah, definitely. And certainly it was a terrible shame for him to have to, I suppose, go home early, have an early shower, I suppose. But yeah, he will be back, like you say, and on a track that he knows maybe a bit better than the previous ones so far. So, yeah, all to play for. We've got every confidence in Mr. Dixon, and we'll be continuing to monitor his progress over there in Moto 2. So, yeah, best of luck. And, yeah, hopefully it's just a simple case of just having a bit of a rest, I suppose. Is that what you do when you... Yeah. What was it? Broke his leg or ankle? What was it?
No, I just suffered concussion. That was it.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Yeah, that needs a rest as well, doesn't it, Ed?
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
it's
a what? Just try and rest it as much as you can. So it's it's one of those. It's not a particularly pleasant thing to happen. So thankfully, he's got 3 weeks between now and Jerez when they turn up. But it was a vicious crash. Having the bike took 3 or 4 attempts to actually kick him clear of this machine. So it's horrible. Yeah, a rest up and hope we see him back up to fitness in Jerez, because it was a bad one.
Yeah, and best of luck, and get the rest you need, Jake, and come back and show us how it's done, basically. A big hello to Josh Owens, tuning in live for maybe not the first time, but hello anyway, Josh, tuning into the Superbike show, and as is Luke Hedger. Hello, good evening, Luke, and some of the usual people who are still hanging around, who commented earlier. Do let us know your thoughts on what we're talking about as well. So even if maybe you didn't catch Moto 3 and Moto 2, I mean, not everybody can, not everyone can spend their entire day basically sat in front of the most amazing bike action that you'll probably ever see anywhere in the world, apart from maybe No Limits Racing.
It's a pretty good show at No Limits, I must admit.
Yeah, so, but yeah, basically, if you didn't catch what happened, we've got regular race reviews on our website. And also, if you just happen to disagree with anything that, God forbid, I've ever said, and I never say anything that's incorrect or infactual or clickbaity. But if you do, then you can correct us and let us know all the various ways which we are wrong and you are right, because we welcome that sort of stuff on this show, and we are live. It's best to tune in when you're live, but you can also download us and take us with you, maybe to Silverstone this weekend. There you go. And if you get any good stories, any good pictures, any inside gossip while you're at Silverstone, let us know about it. We want to know. That's exactly all the sort of paddock gossip that we want to know about for next week's show. All right, just letting you know. Anyway, so carrying on back with Moto 2 then, and or are we doing Moto 2 actually? Is that it for Moto 2? Is there any other bits of news?
Not much happened. There was a wee scrap for 4th, 5th and 6th places between Alex Marquez, Luca Marini and Matteo Pessini. So
he lost
that
out,
ended
Marquez,
up with,
didn't he?
Yeah, Marquez got 5th, Luca Marini I think actually dropped back to 7th. Oh, got 6th. He got 6th, sorry. So yeah, there wasn't a lot going on there was a lot, but there wasn't a lot, if that makes sense,
compared to Moto 3, which there usually is a lot going on. Although there was only a disappointing 5-bike scrap for the lead. I was very disappointed, considering that it's usually like a 15 or 20 bike scrap coming into the final corner, and everyone's like holding on for grim death, trying to get their breath and stuff, and trying not to scream themselves unconscious. But rather sedate Moto 3 race.
Yeah, it was actually. We're used to the 18 big scrap for the win in the last lap, but it was only 5, which is, compared to a lot of other motorsports that were going on that day,
steady,
really good. So it was, in many ways, a strong out race, because you've got to think back to the early leader, which was Suzuki, and he's never been on a podium before and never won a race, and he was just off at the front of the pack, dragging them out. So Aaron Canet was chasing them down, but couldn't really get within the last 7/10 to really get the slipstream. So
he can't do it.
So, but he did. Can he do it? Can he do it? It was okay, Lester. I'll give you a 5 out of 10 for that. But Suzuki, unfortunately, it was such a shame, because you like to see someone that's never won a race before end up winning a race. So the good thing is that he showed a great turn of speed this weekend, crashed out with about 7 or 6 laps to go. After leading much of the race, so we could see him getting. He's so close to that first podium, and maybe fingers crossed we'll be able to see him win a race before the end of the season. But that did leave Aaron Canet, who over the years has been one of the fastest, if not the fastest rider around the circuit of the Americas, but he's had unfortunate issues. For example, a few years ago, he crashed out high-sided at the penultimate turn when he was starting to run away with the race, but he managed to pick up the win with. I wouldn't say an epic last lap battle. Minyo did shove it up the side of him at turn 12, but ran a little bit wide. Aaron Canet got him back, and that was that really. They all started scrapping behind him, and Aaron Canet had a bit of a margin towards the end of the race, and he took the first ever win for Max Biaggi's team in Moto 3. So Max Biaggi, the 4-time 250cc world champion, the 13-time MotoGP race winner, has now become a race winner as a team owner. And you definitely know that he will be looking further down the order and looking at the VR46 team and just having a little bit of a smile. You know, you can just tell who. Yeah, Adin Canet, he's got a really good rider there, and yeah, Dennis Foggia and Vietti were a little bit further down than what Valentino Rossi would like. But you know that rivalry goes back a long time. It never has done. They show a little bit more respect now compared to what they did when they were riders. But you can definitely tell Max Biaggi would have loved that one, just rubbing it in a little bit in front of Rossi. So Max Biaggi, in true Max Biaggi fashion, took to Twitter and went, as a team owner, I am so proud with the first victory with our rider, Adin. So giving Adin Canet a lot of plaudits there, giving the team a big up, and hey, Adin Canet will be a championship contender throughout the entire season. Can he do it? You never know. Max Biaggi might do something that the VR46 team hasn't done in Moto3, which will be take a championship. I know I'm just sort of winding people up here, but you never know, it can happen. So it's great to see that riding going on. Further back, Jaume Masia and Andrea Mino were chopping and changing, as well as Rodrigo on the last lap. Unfortunately, Rodrigo missed out again on another podium, missed out by a couple of hundredths behind Andrea Mino. So that first podium this season is surely just round the corner for Rodrigo there. And Finati, everyone's favourite rider in Moto3, unfortunately crashed out. Can't say yay when someone crashes out. So, yeah, Finati crashed out. Unfortunately, Jakob Kornfeld had nowhere to go and unfortunately hit Finati's bike, which is quite a bit of a weird one, because coming at the fast, long right-hander, he lost the back end. Not many people did over the weekend. You thought a lot more people would have crashed there, but not many people did. Fortunately, Finati did. And for the man that has won at the Circuit of the Americas on his past two occasions when he was in Moto3, so 2016 and 2017, was a non-scorer again, which is consolidating his horrendous start to the season, where I believe he's only got, I think, 4 points to his name at the moment after his result at Qatar, when he was in the battle for the lead and had to take the penalty lane because he got a warning and believed it was a penalty he was getting in. Finished 16th in Argentina and crashed out here. So it's a horrible start to the season for the returning Finati. And you could possibly say it's a horrible start to the season for John McPhee as well. He hasn't really shown... Yeah, apart from the pace in Argentina, when he was fastest in the practice sessions and then was battling in the front, but then crashed out, he didn't really feature at the Circuit of the Americas and only finished in 13th. And unfortunately for all British fans within Moto3, Tom Bethamos didn't have a good ride, and he crashed out at turn 9, which is a shame that his race ended early, but seemed to be okay.
We do like to keep an eye on what Tom Booth Amos is up to, and I think as he gets the British support anyway, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, John McPhee, I don't know. Do you know why is he struggling? Should we try and get him on the show maybe at some point if he can bear it?
If we could bear to tell us what's happening so far at the start of the season.
What do you think he'd say though? Not to put words in his mouth, but what reasons has he got to be down there?
I just think maybe it's a new team in Moto3. Maybe it's just everyone's not gelled properly yet. You never know. John's a very experienced rider, finished on the podium many times, Grand Prix winner, so he's definitely got the talent to be up there. But then again, Moto3 is such a tight field. As I said, Suzuki was leading the race. He's never been on the podium before.
But McPhee's one of the most experienced in Moto3, so none of this is a shock to him.
Yeah, he's been down there before, but he's always picked himself back up and gotten on with the job. And to be fair, Circuit of the Americas has never really been a good track for him. And we've just spoken about Finati, where Circuit of the Americas is a good track for him, won on his previous two occasions. And even Finati was just on the fringes of the top 10 when he crashed out. So Finati is also one of the most experienced riders in the class. He's roughly the same age as John. They've both been in Moto3 since 2012. Okay, Finati spent half a season out of the class at the end of 2016 and throughout the course of 2018. So it's a tough one. The Moto3 class is such a tough class. Anyone within the top 20 can basically win a race. whatever weekend. So he's finishing in the points. Needs to be further up in the points to challenge for the title and be closer to the podium. But John McPhee is a class act where he comes to. He's very professional. He just gets on with the job, and he never slates the team. He never, if something goes wrong, he will blame himself if he does make the mistake. And as the season goes on, we will see him challenging for the podiums and possibly race wins as well.
I'm sure we will, definitely. Ed, any things that caught your eye in Moto3? Any comments?
It's just an observation from watching John McPhee race from the last year or so, is that trying to pinpoint where his, I suppose you'd say, weakness is in the class. It's qualifying that seems to be the problem with him. He's never quite had the consistency that the other championship contenders have had, in that they're always able to qualify, on the first or second row, third at worst. John McPhee, sometimes he gets up into the top three, then you'll go through a couple of races where, he'll be around the sixth or seventh row of the grid, which just makes the race so much more difficult, if not impossible, to try and pick up podium and wins. So, because his race pace is absolutely bang on. It's as good as everyone else around him, if not better than most. He's got, as you said, he's the most experienced man. I think he's the most experienced man now in the Moto3 class. That's there. His racecraft is, up there with guys racing in Moto2, MotoGP, in terms of overtaking and, the clean manoeuvres and all that, which you don't often get in Moto3, let's be honest. It's his qualifying, his one-lap pace that lets him down. He tends to find himself on his own, which in the bigger classes is almost ideal. What you want, but in Moto3, the slipstream is everything. He just needs to latch himself onto a fast group that's going along, but to just give him the extra 2 or 3 tenths of a second in his qualifying times, that will actually boost him up, as many as 3 or 4 rows. Because that's how tight it all is in qualifying. Most of the field is covered by a second, if not more. So, or if not less even, I should say. So just getting a quarter of a second through the slipstream effect is enough usually to bump you up, a good fistful of places. So if he can get qualifying sorted, he is going to be up there for the championship. It's still early enough in the season for him to be able to turn this around. We tend to see the true orders emerge in the European rounds, and John McPhee traditionally goes at his best in this main part of the season that we're coming up to. So, it's not panic stations for him. He's, Saturday is his problem rather than Sunday, and that's as far as I'm concerned, it's the easier problem to fix. So, I think he could still make it as a challenge this season. If he can sort his one-lap pace out, I think he'll be in a good place. Okay.
And if you have any other suggestions, if you're tuned in, about what maybe McPhee could do, maybe if he needs it at all, maybe get his head into gear and how he could possibly do that, or if it's just the fact that he's just not settled down with that team/bike combo yet. Let us know. Maybe we should just ask him ourselves and invite him on the show. That'd be a good idea, I think. We'd like to see that. Definitely at any point in the season. John McPhee, you're more than welcome to come on the Superbike show on Motorsport Radio. And so I think that's it then for MotoGP at the Circuit of Americas. I don't think we've got any other big... I've been trying to keep an eye out for breaking news sometimes, because it has a habit of breaking news when we're on the show and just after we've gone off air, and it's like, oh, someone big's just retired or something's just happened, or I'm like, crap, we didn't mention that on the show. I'll just keep an eye on just stuff. Anyway, so this is the Superbike show. If this is your first ever experience of Motorsport Radio, hello and welcome. We're doing a live visual radio stream. What's the difference, Ed, between a visual radio stream and a normal radio stream? Well, I'll tell you.
We have cameras?
Yes. It's, basically, that basically. But it is radio, and it's motorsport.radio. So just remember that. And we will continue to talk about bikes, including, but not limited to, BSB, British Talent Cup, and also Fenton Seabright next.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
I am Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.
And a big hello to everybody tuned in live on our various Facebook streams. Hello to Mark Lathrop, who says, good luck, Will Lathrop, who's racing in the British Talent Cup this weekend at Silverstone, bike number 11. He says, keep her lit. And a big hello to all the others who are also in the British Talent Cup as well, to just name a few names that stand... Oh, maybe I should probably just name them all, actually. According to the British Talent Cup website, I've not seen the entry list just yet, so if I'm reading out names and they're not in the entry list, I'm going to look foolish.
I've got the entry list up if you want that.
Oh, yeah, go on then, Liam.
Yeah, there. So we've got on the number 2 bike, Jack Nixon. Number 3 is going to be Elliot Pinson. And I'm going to murder this. I'm going to say Owen Jones, Ocean Jones at number 5.
I think.
Yeah. When it comes to Welsh names, I'm rubbish with it. Jamie Lyons on number 6. Charlie Adkins on number 7. Eddie O'Shea, so you might remember him from Coolfab a couple weeks ago. It will be on number 8. And Brian Hart will be on bike number 9, followed by Jack Hart on bike number 10. So they're not related at all. Jack Hart is from Paisley in Scotland, and we've got Jack Hart from, I'm not too sure, but somewhere in England. So we've got William Lathrop on bike number 11, and we've got Torrin Collins at 12. Bike number 13 is going to be Harvey Claridge. So you may remember Harvey Claridge, also from some Coolfab Racing. Corey Tinker on bike 14. Reese Irwin on bike 15. 16 is going to be Lee Harvey. Oh, sorry, Harry Lee. Lee Harvey's someone else. Harry Lee on bike 16. Zach Shelton on bike 17. Jamie Davis on 18. And on number 19, we've got Charlie Farrer. Number 20 is going to be Scott Swan. And a couple more riders. We've got Ross McGuire on bike 21. Fenton Seabright, who we'll have on the show a little bit later on today, on bike number 22. And Cameron Horseman, 23. And rounding out the runners and riders for the starting grid of the British Talent Cup in 2019 is going to be George Hopper on bike 24.
It's basically a Coolfab Racing British Minibikes Championship grid, to be honest. Many, not all, but many, most of, pretty much all of the riders in British Talent Cup come directly from, and why wouldn't they, the biggest and best British Minibikes Championship this side of Spain, I would say. So yeah, Coolfab Racing British Minibikes Championship back in action for their second round of the season next weekend. But this weekend, you can have a bit of a preview of the second round of Coolfab Racing, because it is the British Talent Cup as well. So yeah, that'll be streamed live online on the British Talent Cup YouTube, I think, wherever it was, and maybe on Facebook as well. So that'll be good to. We'll send the links out. Don't worry about that. Hello to Stuart Everard, who says, "Evening, boys, and happy birthday for the other day, Lester." Thank you, Stuart. Bit late, but thank you anyway. No, it's appreciated. And wishing our South African duo, Bjorn Esmond and debutant Brent Haran, the very best this weekend at Silverstone. That's the Everquip Racing team boss, and the guy who is the aficionado of digging a hole. He does like pit garage holes. I'm not explaining it very well.
Oh,
sorry,
right.
Stuart. But hello anyway. And hello if you're still tuned in. Well done, you're doing well. Fenton Seabright on the way very, very shortly to explain what his plan of action is on that grid at Silverstone this weekend, and also what he's got planned for the rest of the entire season, as he'll be looking to I suppose win everything, as everybody will do. So yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a moment. But first, there's the small matter of BSB and the preview. And, Scott Redding, Ed, believes he's going to win at the weekend, apparently. But I suppose he would say that, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, well, I mean, he's given everything that the Panigale V4R has been doing in World Superbikes. He's got every reason to be confident about his chances in BSB, because the noise is coming out of the Motorsport BYD Ducati team over the winter is that even with all the electronic aids turned off, that the bike is a bit of a monster in the good sense. So Scott Redding, yes, he seems to be much more happier than he had been certainly during his final year in MotoGP, if not longer. He seems ready to hit the ground running this weekend when the championship gets underway at Silverstone.
Didn't you say something about the there was the Eurosport preview, and I think you might mention something off there.
I'll mention it now, as you said it. So anyone who regularly gets motorcycle news, like myself, you will know that this week that they did a 2019, their big BSB preview, in which all members of their broadcast team were asked at the end to pick who they see in their top 6, the showdown. And everyone, barring one person, so it was everyone apart from James Whitton, said either Josh Brooks or Scott Redding will end up the season as champion for this year. James Whitton went with Taz McKenzie for the Mackems Yamaha team this year. But it says a lot of the confidence seemingly everyone has in this Ducati bike. No doubt it's come across from what Alvaro Bautista has been doing in World Superbikes, definitely. You're going to ask Lester, aren't you, for my opinion, who I think is
not yet. Win. I'm not, because we're going to do a Superbikes challenge game later.
Good. So I think they'll be strong. Put it that way. Will Redding win this weekend? Which that interview alluded to what he was saying. He could do, because apart from he just has to learn, that linking corner from Maggots onto the Wellington Straight. Effectively, he knows the rest of the Silverstone National Circuit because it's the top and tail of the Grand Prix circuit, effectively. So it is a circuit he knows well. He will go well. He does have a good record from his MotoGP and Moto2 days around Silverstone circuit. So, and the weather seems to be, it's going to be pretty warm this weekend. In fact, I saw a forecast earlier today. It's going to be in the low 20s. So mid-April, low 20s. Yes, please. He's bringing the Spanish weather with him across. Speaking of bringing the Spanish over, Javi Forés for the Honda racing team. He believes the Honda bike has actually, they've sorted their base setup for the year. They are ready now for the season, and he is very confident that it's actually going to be a much better year in BSB than the corresponding World Superbike Honda team are having at the moment, which is an absolute disaster. Yes, Forrest, incidentally, he's no stranger actually to the Silverstone circuit, albeit the GP circuit is the one he last raced when he was at venue back in 2011. Incidentally, just a little fact for you, Javi Forés is going to be the first Spanish rider to do a first BSB season since, I hope I pronounce this right, Gregorio Lavilla in 2007, and the first to do a race since Juan Lascaux wildcarded back in 2011.
Oh, yeah.
So it's been a bit of an absence for Spanish riders. Javi Forés is probably one of the top Spanish riders you could wish for in the team, in the series, rather. Well, certainly the Honda racing team, by all accounts, love him already. He seems to love the team. They've clicked. They're going to be strong, backed up with his teammate, which I believe is Andy Irwin, for the season. They're going to be a very, very powerful unit. That bike, the Honda the Honda bike in BSB has been, it's not been a world beater. The Fireblade hasn't been that in recent years, but the BSB team have got more out of the bike than anyone else in the racing circuits across the world. So, and with a genuine world-class rider like Forrest piloting it, I think we're going to see a very good year for that team this season. Former Honda rider Dan Linfoot, he's aiming for consistency this year, starting with top 5 finishes. He's vowed he will not go all guns blazing this year, as he's built a bit of a reputation of charging hard in the opening rounds of the season and ultimately crashing out and injuring himself, and the season rapidly curtails. It's a bit, how Marc Marquez a few years ago said he's going to stop this whole win it or bin it mentality. I think it was 2016 he said that when he knew he was going to be in the fight. Well, He did stop it in 2016 to win that championship. He stopped it in 2017 when he had to fight Dovizioso. Now, I'm not saying Dan Linfoot is Marc Marquez, an English version. Although that said, you look at the positions he was running in before the crashes that he took himself out of contention over the previous years, and you suddenly realise he certainly would have been the showdown material. Consistency, if he manages that, yeah, it could be a very good year for him. It's out there. So there's so many hungry riders this year. If you're going to Silverstone this weekend or even watching on TV, you are in for an absolute treat. 2 teams, 1 manufacturer that perhaps won't be looking forward to so much this weekend are the Tyco and Smiths Racing BMW teams, simply because they've had a lack of testing this winter on their new Yes, their bike arrived very late, similar to the World Superbike model, only later because their season starts later. In fact, it arrived so late, the new S1000RR, that they only managed to test it at the one-day Silverstone test last week. Yeah. So I think they
did a shakedown at Cadwell as well.
They've done a shakedown, but in terms of official tests, they've not. So quite how much they've managed to solve. Yeah, these 2 teams, they're well experienced. All the other winter testing, their base data will have been done with the old bike, and given that same manufacturer, they're usually evolutions rather than revolution bikes, unlike what Ducati bring out, completely different machine. So there will be a lot of data that they can still transfer over. Will they be at the sharp end of the weekend? Possibly not. They're certainly all downplaying their chances this week, but they'll be all of them disappointed if they don't get top 10s. Let's make that clear. They're not here to make up the numbers this weekend. Practice will all be about gathering as much data as they possibly can, as quickly as they can, and then firing it straight in through qualifying and the 2 races on the Sunday. So they look set to be a bit of a learning weekend for them.
Fair enough. So, yeah, with I don't suppose most people, like you say, it might be a bit of a struggle for, I think, a lot of people to expect more of Tyco and Smiths and the BMW guys at the moment, considering, as you say, the complete lack of testing. That being said, though, we might be. We could see. Well, we could see anything, I suppose. That's the nature of BSB. So before we get on to maybe the best part of the entire show, predicting who's going to do what are the times? When is it on? Is it on Quest?
Okay.
When can we watch it?
Yes, TV. It's definitely going to be on British Eurosport 2 this weekend. Now that all the cycling classics, all of it's going to be on British Eurosport 2. So Saturday for the qualifying show, 3:30 p.m. it goes on air, 4 p.m. qualifying starts, and then on Sunday, have your Sunday lunch with the family. 1 p.m. they go on air. The first race getting underway at 1:30 p.m. I have been told that Sunday's racing is also going to be shown on Quest. Woo. So good news if you don't quite have the full Eurosport package, be able to see that there.
Yeah, excellent. And it is all, I'm going to say that it is once again available on the fantastic, never to be faulted Eurosport on-demand player. So even if, for whatever reason, there's some sort of drama or an emergency, or that means that you can't be at Silverstone or you can't watch any of the racing live, then you can still watch it on their fantastic on-demand player, which I always watch.
And, well, in fact, Eurosport player viewers will also have the luxury of watching the motorbike version of the Le Mans 24 Hours this weekend. God, yeah. That's also going on. Yeah. In addition to that, because the TV broadcasts only do the afternoon races for BSB, you get the whole morning races that go on. There's about 5 or 6 of them that happen in the morning, also on the Eurosport player before the TV coverage gets going. So it's, full weekend of bike racing. What more could you want?
Exactly, yeah, and I don't know if we definitely have time to properly delve into the 24-hour Le Mans on a bike race. But if we do, then we'll give it a good crack. And one particular last year BSB rider emerged as a rider in this weekend's race, which was a total surprise to me. So I don't know, maybe I just wasn't paying close enough attention. But Gino Rea riding this weekend. Again, we won't have time to talk about Gino Rea, unfortunately, unless we've got time later on in the show. Anyway, predictions then. And, well, for this season, I mentioned earlier, if you just joined us and you didn't know about it, we are, I suppose, teaming up with the Superbike's Challenge app, the Superbike Challenge game as well. Check it out on their website, superbikeschallenge.co.uk. And in 2019, if you're a regular player on the game, on the app, in 2019, you'll know that they're back and bigger than ever before, because they're powered by Quattro Plan, big backer of theirs, and you can literally download the app, totally free to play. It's online on the app. Even if you've got a really rubbish phone like I have, don't worry, you can still do it on their website, superbikeschallenge.co.uk. You can make your predictions. Predict the top 5 from any BSB race weekend, and the podium and the pole position as well, in whether it's a Super Pole or not. And if you get them all right, the person with the most points at the end of the weekend will win prizes. And it's free to play. And they don't even sell your details to big companies. So, wow, that's I know, right, guys? It's absolutely incredible.
What more could you want?
It is a genuinely fantastic opportunity to win everything from hospitality to literally teams. Hospitality events. So if you're going to some of the races anyway, if you're planning on going, I don't know, say for round 2, and then you win round 1, then you can get to be treated like a VIP. There's also loads of other prizes as well, which are updated very regularly on there, on the website. Check it out, or on the app as well, because it is free to play. So since we're talking about it then, we might as well just ask you guys, since you're here, your top 5 in the, I don't know, who's going to, let's say top 5 in the final BSB race of, how are we going to do it? Let's just say top 5 in.
It's difficult, isn't it, when there's 2 races?
Yeah.
See, if we get this right, do we get prizes as well?
No.
What's the point?
But we do have
we
other.
Can't rig it Blue Peter style.
No, it wouldn't. I think just like maybe Chief Wiggum when they turn up, like after they've just like found a haul of brand new denims or other cheap jeans, for example, and then the whole police department turn up the next day wearing brand new jeans. So if we turn up wearing all team gear next week, then you'd be like, I don't know.
The very specific Simpsons episode to remember, Lester.
Welcome to Mackham's Yamaha TV.
It was just on my mind anyway. So, for examples, for some of the prizes, the first place for the race prize, and it's only one lucky winner will win a hospitality experience, a Mac Tools bundle. Also, there's a crate of Iron Maiden beer as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes, a crate of Iron Maiden beer, and also some other team kit as well, and some clothing, some team wear, let's say. There's also other prizes, including some Spine Opta, probably one pair of Spine Optics sunglasses, sported by Mr. Leon Haslam on the website. There's a third place prize as well for this weekend, which includes loads of different things. There's literally actually too many stuff to read out there. Superbikeschallenge.uk is the web address. I think you can probably just Google it. Really, it's the best place to find it. So loads of different stuff to win, basically. So you can go on there right now, make your predictions for first, second, third, fourth, fifth, pole position, and the fastest lap. And the prizes will be awarded 24 hours after race day. And we will check back weekly whenever we're doing a show to find out who is the season leaderboard and who won the previous round. So who is the lucky winner? We might even get to announce it for the first time on the show. Who knows? But yeah, check it out. It's the Superbikes Challenge app. Totally free to play, and it's fantastic. And I will now ask you then, guys, I suppose, in order, who's going to be leading the championship then, coming out of round one, Silverstone? I'm going to start off with Liam.
Yes.
In fifth place then. Who's going to be...
fifth place?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one. I am going to... Just because he's feeling confident this weekend, I'm going to say Dan Lindfoot in fifth place. Fourth place, I just don't think he's quite got to grips with the bike yet. Even though he's done better in testing as of recently. Josh Brooks in fourth. Then in third spot, I'm going to go for a wild card here. And I'm going to say Taryn McKenzie in third. He's been under the radar a little bit in testing at the moment. You know what? Just because he's been... We've not really seen too much of him. I'm just going to say Brad Ray. Second spot for Brad Ray.
Only second for Brad Ray?
Only second for Brad Ray because... The reason I'm saying it's only second is because Jason O'Halloran has been turning up to every single circuit so far in testing. Might not be quickest from the offset, but he's worked and worked and worked and found a solution to every... Not problem, but everything he's not had right with the bike yet. And then found it, sorted it out, gone fastest. So I'm going to say, coming out this weekend, Jason O'Halloran will be the championship leader on 50 points.
Interesting one. And so I am writing these down, by the way, so I will hold you to account on these things, guys. So yes, Ed, your top five, who will be leading the championship coming out of Silverstone at the end of the week?
O'Halloran's a very strong chance for that. Although, typically said that, I just have a feeling first round he went so well at the circuit last year, nearly pipping Leon Haslam twice. Last season, one of the best races, probably one of the national circuit's ever seen. I'm going to have Taz McKenzie leading the championship when we finish at Silverstone this week. It's going to be a hard-fought, close-run weekend, and he will just edge out O'Halloran, who will be in second. I generally think the Mackems Yamaha, Silverstone, and the whole season, they are going to be the team to watch this year. They just seem to have every base covered. So
sitting on the fence.
Third place.
Well, go for second. Who did you?
Oh, second place was O'Halloran.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Was third place. I'm going to go Glenn Irwin. I think he just he's sounding more confident than at any point when he was at Ducati. He knows he's got a really good, well-drilled team with him, and the team value what he has to say about the bike, the development that they're taking with a team that really believes in him, and that's obviously only going to make him grow in confidence on the bike as well. Fourth, I think Brooks will probably have fourth. He will be there. He might sneak a podium somewhere that you can never quite tell which Brooks is going to turn up for the first round of a season. But I think the performance of a Ducati and his experience in the class, he'll be there or thereabouts for. And I'm torn between either Brad Ray or Happy Forrest for fifth. Simply because he's been around the circuit more, I'm going to say Brad Ray will have fifth on the Bill-based Suzuki. This weekend it'll be close. I wish it were top six because I'd obviously have Forrest in sixth. I just think Ray's obviously more experience, recent knowledge of the circuit will give him the edge over that particular scrap. So McKenzie, O'Halloran, Irwin, Brooks, Ray, those are my top five prediction for this weekend.
And that's all we've got time for on the predictions, I'm afraid. So, no time for me to give my...
don't be like that.
Come on, Lester.
You're going to have to join in.
Literally all we've got time for, I'm afraid. No, it's,
I'm not having this.
Well, okay, since you asked. Okay. Oh, God. You see, I know who won't win. I'm pretty good at doing that. Okay.
That's the easy part of the job.
5th place. Okay, try not to go with what the other two went for, because that's obviously wrong. 5th place. Who will be in 5th place after the weekend? Let me have a look, because I like to properly sort of study who I think, but because it's the first round, there's no form, there's no form book. I'm going to say, okay, 5th place, and Ed made a pretty good call, actually. Someone who's potentially been, I'd say, overlooked a little bit, considering that he is in the champions team. Glenn Irwin at the moment, so I'm going to say will be in 5th place at least come the end of this weekend. 4th place. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know. Genuinely have no clue. 4th place, God. I know who. Do you know who nobody picked? In you guys didn't pick.
Scott Redding?
Yeah, you didn't pick him, did you? Nobody chose Scott Redding. Interesting. I just feel like he'll need a weekend just to bed himself in.
Yeah, because I think he will need a couple of rounds to get fully up to speed in the championship, because it's so competitive when they all go for racing speeds.
Yeah, it's not like that MotoGP nonsense.
I mean, as much as I love it, I would say it's perhaps pound for pound, it perhaps is a bit more competitive than World Superbikes. So,
obviously.
He's going to have
Coolfab Racing's more competitive than World Superbikes.
Cool Fab Racing is a wonderful thing. That's absolutely so. But I think Redding will just need a bit of time to get through the first part of the season. It's all about him getting up to speed in the ranks before taking it to them in the second half of the season.
Okay, fair enough.
Just my thoughts.
Yeah, potentially valid. I think.
Potentially.
It's there's no right or wrong answers, but you are wrong. But so where are we at? So 3rd place. Wow, this is okay, coming out of the weekend. 3rd place, I'm gonna say, oh good God. Okay, I'm gonna say, okay, this is going to be interesting. Who else said this? I think I think Liam actually said this, actually. And it is my 3rd place prediction, Dan Linfoot.
He's looking confident going into this weekend. He's made lots of inroads on the bike over the tests, so that's not a bad shout.
And they're a good team as well. They know what they're doing. So
yeah, sponsored by Santander Salt. We found out last weekend what that is.
Yeah, which is it's not anything to do with condiments. So
or banks.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. So 2nd place, I'm going to say, and probably I might be eating my words on the show next week, because he might actually be leading the championship. But I'm going to say for now anyway, 2nd place, Brad Ray. Did I choose Ray? No. So Ray. And who will be leading?
Oddly enough, we've voted them higher than what Ed has.
Yeah, I don't know. That'll be an awkward meeting on Saturday when you go to see Brad Ray, Ed.
Only 5th. Only 5th. What do you take me for, Ed?
Okay. His. Oh God. To be honest, it was. Jesus Christ. I'm usually pretty good with predictions or this, but it's the nature of BSB. You just can't really predict who's going to actually win. Except I did, and it's Taz McKenzie. He will be leading the championship.
Whoa! You don't even have Jason O'Halloran on that list.
Nothing against anyone. really. But they're my top 5 anyway, and Ed is in unusual agreement in that he chose before me, and I didn't copy his answer.
We all chose the same manufacturer to be leading the way.
Yeah. Just Jason O'Halloran just seems to have the edge over Taz McKenzie at the moment. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen throughout the entire season.
If we were doing a season prediction, I think I did ages ago, whether it was the start of this year or the end of last year when we did predictions, I think I did have O'Halloran at the top of the list.
Wow.
Of mine, because I think he's, looking at all of his experience, I think he's going to be one very tough nugget to crack this year.
A nugget to crack, said nobody ever.
Tough nugget. That's a great expression, Ed. I really like that one.
Sorry, Ed. But there's been, as you can imagine, quite the flood of comments come in on our BSB and supporters Facebook group. Check it out, BSB supporters Facebook group on Facebook. And Gary Farquharson, sorry Gary if I've mispronounced your name, he said, swap Linfoot with O'Halloran, Leicester. No, I'm not going to do that. It's sorry, we can't change it. It's our final answer, Gary, I'm afraid. He says he doesn't agree with Linfoot, who I'm presuming that was my third place for Linfoot, and this isn't for the championship. This is just for this weekend. Who will be leading? We think coming out of the Silverstone weekend. Luke Lehman says no Reading. I guess that was for you, Ed, because I did actually choose Reading, put him fourth.
It could be me and Liam as well.
Yeah, both of us don't have Reading.
Oh God, yeah. So
that's the reason you put Reading.
He's got to prove himself in the championship. We can say that, can't we? He's new blood coming in. I think he will do well. He will have success in the championship. It will just take time to get right up to speed.
So you think he'll be terrible this weekend, do you?
No, I don't think he'll be terrible. I certainly think if we went all the way down to, say, the top 8, he'd certainly feature in that, because the Ducati bike is good. He does have circuit knowledge, but it's racing these lads in BSB. It's, and bear in mind, he's had a year where he hasn't really had a racing the Top Gun. He hasn't had so much fierce wheel-to-wheel racing because that Aprilia was terrible that he was on last year. He was circulating on his own out the back. So it's going to take a couple of rounds just to get that race sharpness back, I think. So, I mean, I could be eating my words Sunday night, obviously, but I just think it'll take him some time.
I think, when was the last time he raced on a British circuit? He must have been, 12, 13? Because from the age of 14, he was always in Spain or in the world scene.
Could the last time it be the British Grand Prix 2009 when it was at Donington? Would that have been the last time he raced?
Well, the last, on like Cadwell or Alton, one of those circuits. So it might take him a bit of time to get his head around those type of circuits, the unusual ones. For example, Donington and Silverstone. Brands maybe he might be okay on that one because they're more Grand Prix type circuits, and
Cadwell Park and Knock Hill will be big challenges, big asses for him.
Anyway,
and Alton Park.
Yes, we want to know your thoughts if you tuned in as well. If you tuned in live, even if you're not tuned in live, you can still add your comments in the comments box wherever you've picked up this audio download or podcast, as the kids call it. Gary's been back on, and he says he thinks Taron's going to be in with a shout for the win at Silverstone. As I think predicted by myself and Ed. Also, he gives his prediction for... I'm just trying to have a quick scroll. His comments literally flooding in all the time. Actually, it was Luke Lehman who predicted Reading, Brooks, Ray, Irwin and Farmer as his top 5. Interesting. See, I did think of Keith, but then I realised he was on the bike that he's on and did not... Then they're probably going to take a little while to be up to speed. So then I thought maybe not. I mean, otherwise, yes, he'd be... You can't really discount him. Luke also says Reading for pole as well. So that's interesting. Tell you what, Luke, head to the Superbikes Challenge website or download the app, totally free. Put your predictions in. Let's all do that because you've got a day plus... just over 24 hours, I think, to actually get all your predictions in, and let's all put them in together, and then we will see officially who comes out on top. And I promise, if any of us win, which we probably will do. I mean, obviously, of course. Then we'll I don't know. We'll make sure to like roll it over. We'll make sure that we don't basically. So yeah, just because I mean, unless Ed wants to really walk around with the little team merch on, and then it'd be a bit obvious because it'd be we'd spot him.
I've got a lot of redeeming to do. A lot, as Lester and our usual commenter on social media, Chris Howells, keeps reminding me, commentator's curse. So after what I said about Mark Marquez last weekend,
you're just so confident in things that like are obviously not going to happen. I mean,
well, I probably just predicted O'Halloran to lead the championship, and he probably won't lead the championship or feature in the top 5 at all now. So I'm sorry, Jason.
So you can go and see Liam up there in Scotland. At least that's your only saving grace, is that you're up in Scotland.
No one can be bothered coming up here.
Exactly, to slap you. So anyway, Superbike's Challenge app, and it's totally free to play. It's a fantastic game. Do check it out, and it is definitely for the fans, and it's run sort of by the fans as well, because. It's not for profit. Don't even know how he's making any money, to be honest. But there's the app. Check it out online. Sign up with your Facebook. Really, really simple to do. And you get weekly updates of all the prizes. Every single race weekend there is a brand new bundle of prizes to win. Hashtag it's for the fans, says Superbike Challenge app. Fantastic. And we'll be... and if you are leading I think they have the season leaderboard and also individual race weekend leaderboards, and we'll bring you who is leading this time next week on the show. So there you go. Feeling confident? Well,
ready.
Get involved, because it's absolutely free to play. You shouldn't be feeling confidently, and not with your track. But anyway, right, on now to, I suppose that's a pretty good segue, because on to one of the support races at BSB this weekend, and it is the British Talent Cup. And we mentioned briefly most of the, if not all of the people on the entry list for this weekend, one of which is Fenton Seabright. And Liam, you had a quick chat with him earlier today, or when was it?
Yeah, it was actually yesterday. I had a chat with him. Lovely young guy, great to talk to, had a lot to say, and it was great to talk to Fenton, especially after him competing in the European Talent Cup earlier on in the month. He's done it a couple of weekends ago, and he's obviously competing in the British Talent Cup this weekend.
And that's basically what most of your conversation was about, that plus the weather as well. I know you're pretty obsessed with the weather. But anyway, so here then is Liam's pretty good interview with Mr. Young Fenton Seabright, recorded just yesterday. Check this out.
Fenton, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad, yourself?
Good. I'm not too bad. So you've got the British Talent Cup coming up this weekend. What are you doing to prepare for the weekend ahead?
Well, we've been doing a lot of training. We've just come back from Valencia, the first test for the British Talent Cup. Doing a lot of training, a lot of cycling, and getting ready for the first round of the year for the British Talent Cup. How's the weather over in Valencia compared to the UK? It wasn't too bad itself. It could have been hard, but it's quite damp in the mornings, but it was hot enough to get some few quick laps in, and I'm feeling confident for the first round for the British Talent Cup. Yeah, so you say you're feeling confident. You were third in testing over at Valencia. What do you expect going into this weekend? Just expecting to be one of the top runners, hopefully. Hopefully we're just going to try our best, because it's the first round of the year. There's still a whole season ahead of us, and we're just going to have to take it bit by bit. As long as we've got some points, then points make fives, as they say, so we've just got to work on it. Yeah, so you scored a podium at round 1 of the British Talent Cup last year at Donington Park. It was a little bit cold last year. Do you think it'll be a little bit warmer this weekend? Well, hopefully, yes. The weather's throwing a heat wave, so hopefully it stays like that. If it does, then that's good news. We can push a bit harder. Yeah, absolutely. Nice warm track means nice hard racing at the front. So who do you think are going to be your biggest challengers this year for the title? There's quite a few in this year. We've got Scott Ogden, Cameron Horseman, and Brian Hart. They're one of the main ones. But you just got to race. It's all about racing. Anything can happen. you could be up to the top 3 runners, and after anything can happen. It could all close down to the last corner, to be honest.
Absolutely. Are you expecting to be up the front challenging every weekend?
That's what I'm looking for, yeah.
So I was looking at the calendar earlier on this week, and you've got a new track, Bruno, this year. Have you ever been to Bruno before?
No, it's going to be good to Bruno. I think it's a new track to all of us, so it's just a big learning curve at Bruno as well for all of us. So it's the first playing field, and just see how we get on there.
Absolutely. So you're competing in the European Talent Cup this year. What is the biggest differences between the two series?
The riding level is a lot higher, and it's a bigger world out there in Spain. In the European Championship, there's a lot of people with a lot of money in there, and it comes down to talent most of the time, and you just gotta screw your head down, and just gotta get on with it.
Is it a lot nicer to race on these big open circuits that they have over in Europe compared to what we have over here in the UK?
Yeah, it's a big difference. You're looking at Cadwell Park compared to Valencia. It's totally different feeling. Everything, even the bike setup, everything's totally different.
Yeah, everyone seems to compare Valencia and Caldwell Park. It's two different worlds between the two circuits. Now, over in Estoril, the first round of the European Talent Cup, which happened not that weekend there, but the weekend before, you had an amazing ride to come home in second place, but unfortunately you clashed with Ivan Ortola crossing the start-finish line. What were your initial reactions when that happened?
I was a bit surprised. It was just a racing accident. Wasn't none of our faults. It was just I thought I got him on the last corner bit, but he is small and he is light. So he just worked his way through, and he came across me. I came across him, and the handbars just hit. But it's a bit of racing. But as long as I got the second place, I was happy with that. I was happy to come home with a second place that weekend. Yeah,
I believe it was your first podium within the class.
Yeah, I was going into the weekend looking for a top 15, and a second place was just unbelievable. It felt amazing to be a rookie in that championship, and just in a rookie team as well. We're no big team or anything like that, so it felt good.
Did you think you won the race when you both clashed, or did you think you were second, or were you not too sure?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't think I even got the podium. I thought because I didn't cross I crossed the line just on my bike, but I didn't because I crashed over the line. I honestly didn't think I had the podium. So when I found out, my dad told me, I was over the moon with that.
Yeah, it must be amazing standing on one of those podiums there. Now, we're talking about UK and obviously the European circuits being a lot different. Now, we could probably compare the weather, but in Estoril, it was horrible looking conditions. How did you find it?
Yeah, it was horrendous out there. It was quite hard towards the beginning. I couldn't get used to the bike in the wet. It was really stiff. It was hard to ride. But towards the end, we loosened up. I moved the bike around a lot more. And in warm-up before the race, it was horrendous. We was second from last, and we just couldn't get on with the bike. But then after we did a few changes, and in the race, I felt good, and I got comfortable on the bike. So it worked out the setup we had.
Yeah, it was a fantastic ride. I believe you were the quickest rider on track for a good few laps before you caught Ivan Ortola, so it was amazing to watch the race live on TV. Now, you qualified second and finished second in race one. How are you feeling for the rest of the season going ahead?
Well, the rest of the season is going to be totally different to the first race because it was wet, but it's looking like at Valencia, after we got British Talent Cup this weekend and the weekend after at Valencia, it's going to be a totally different race. It's going to be dry. There's going to be a lot more riders at the top, and it comes down to training and having your head screwed on at the first corner and the last corner, pretty much. You just got to keep going, keep pushing.
How difficult is it to switch between both championships? The rider difference, the characteristics of the circuits.
Well, to be honest, I did struggle quite a bit changing from the bike I rode in British Superbikes last year to the one I rode in CV. It did make a big difference, and to be honest, I did have 2 or 3 crashes before that weekend testing because I changed my bike position, everything. It was just my body position just changed everything, and it is hard to adapt to 2 different bikes. Do
you feel like you're a stronger rider this year than you were last year?
Yeah, this year I feel I've still got my head screwed on a bit more, and I've got my racing head on, so I do feel a lot stronger. I feel like I've got well, hopefully I'll be finish top 10 in most of the races.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how you can do for the rest of the year. Have you got anything else planned for the rest of the year, or well, maybe even wild cards?
Not at the minute. Depends how we get on in the championships. If we're doing well, then we're probably just going to stick to our two main championships. But it all depends mid-season. But I don't think we will be doing any wild cards yet.
I was hoping you might be doing a wee wild card at Silverstone later in the year.
I always talk about it, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll keep our ears pinned to the door for that one. One last final question. What is your main goal for the 2019 season?
Well, British Talent Cup, I would like to be in top three, finish in the top three. And CB, I'd be more than happy with a top 5, considering the level of riding out there is quite high, so I'd be happy with a top 5.
Well, you've already made a great start to the European Championship or European Talent Cup this season, and obviously you've got round 1 of the British Talent Cup this weekend coming up. Easter weekend, and the weather's looking good, so we're looking forward to seeing what you can do, Fenton.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend. It's first round. A lot of new riders in it this year, so just a bit of competition, more competition. There's a lot. I think with this year we're riding a lot harder, so it's going to be more of a battle this year.
Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before the weekend gets underway?
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to all my sponsors who helped me throughout this year already, and just hopefully it all goes well.
Yeah, I'll be keeping an eye on you this weekend, and fingers crossed the rest of 2019 goes very well for you and you can achieve the goals that you're setting out for yourself.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. Mr. Fenton Seabright there on Motorsport Radio talking to our Liam just yesterday. Great interview. And thank you very much, Fenton. And hashtag Team Fenton Seabright tuned in. Hello to you folks as well. So, yeah, he's sounded like a pretty down-to-earth, level-headed, young, talented rider, let's say.
Yeah, he's sounding... to be honest, I was getting the impression he was sounding extremely confident about himself. You would do after you scored a second place in the CEV European Talent Cup, because you know what it's like over there. It's like a bloodhound when the racing hits on track over in the European circuits. And as Fenton said, it's really tough racing over there. So he smashed to score second, qualified second as well over the weekend, and he's targeting a top 3 in the British Talent Cup this season. And I was looking through the calendar yesterday. They'll be going to Brno as well. So now he's doing the European Talent Cup. He's getting a feeling for how the European circuits might handle. So not just doing the British circuits, but they're doing Brno and Valencia. So he's already got a lot of sort of knowledge of how those circuits feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely good that he's doing as much as he possibly can do to, even if it is just for experience, even if he's not, out up front every single race, because of the level, like you say, of competition out there. It's still all information that you can be learning, and you can, take all this data in about how bikes are, corners and circuits, etc. And maybe the next time you come to ride on it, Fenton, in, I don't know, Moto 3 maybe next year or two, then who knows?
Yes, definitely the target for him.
Excellent. So, yeah, thank you very much for doing that, Liam, and thank you very much for coming on the show as well, Fenton, and hello to Amy Collier, Bruce Ingram as well, and Jane Seabright, who says, that's my boy. So, hello, Jane. Thank you for tuning in to Motorsport Radio. And just before we go then, we've not mentioned so far some of the other support categories in BSB. There's a very interesting entry list so far. And I hope, talking in general, guys, that we don't have too many people coming and going. Because it got really, really confusing for people like me to even keep up last year, to be honest, with like some riders leaving after quali or before, like 10 minutes before quali, for example. But yeah, it's going to be I would say anyway, a very interesting British Supersport Championship year, I think. Personally, people like Thomas Strudwick in the mix in there, Jack Kennedy. for example. You've got Rory Skinner, Brad Jones, Alistair Seeley as well.
The very talented newcomers coming up against the old guard of Alistair Seeley, and Lee Johnston's returning over as well for a full crack at the Supersport Championship too. So the beauty of the Supersport Championship is there's not just, the production-based 600cc's, you also have the Moto 2 bikes, and with Triumph now having taken over from Honda, the expectations we're going to start to see more of those old Honda Moto 2 machines come into the British paddock as well. So which will hopefully bring in even more competitors as the season goes on, and keeps that class going for a long time to come, because it was looking a bit unlikely a couple of years ago. So it's certainly Supersport GP2 class. It seems to be getting right back up to its top level as one of the principal support series for BSB.
Definitely, and another name to watch out for in general this season, Charlie Nesbitt. You might or may not already know the name, but he is a graduate of the Cool Fab Racing British Minibike Championship, and was back at the first round at Clandau a couple of weeks ago, doing some stunts in the middle of winning races, so just to have a bit of fun. But he'll be doing the real thing and trying to pull off a few stunts on the probably not actually, but on the actual Silverstone grid, as well as he is on the entry list for this weekend's British Supersport Championship and GP2 Cup as well. That's the full title of it as well. Liam, do you have any news on, I think it's Stock 1000 or some other bits of information, anything like that?
Yeah, basically, as we knew from a couple of weeks ago, I don't know how you'd say it, but British Talent Cup, would say, sort of
graduate
type person. No, I would say graduate, because he never really graduated to anything further, fortunately, but champion from last year. I was trying to say, trying to think of a word. He obviously didn't graduate to anything they possibly could have done. So Rory Skinner is now entering the class, if you didn't know this already, on a Kawasaki privately funded team, and it's going to be helped out by Chris Walker. So that's always quite good.
Yes, we did mention that on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we did. So that's handy. He's going to be there. And as we said, he's going to go up against the established stars of Alistair Seeley, Jack Kennedy as well. Lee Johnston's come back, so he's going to mix it in with a lot of good people. And if he thought that he might come in and, challenge right at the top right away, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because we know how good the British Supersport class is. Talking of Supersport, which is a junior Supersport, I've just been having a look at the entry list. You're not going to believe this, but 40 riders on the entry list for this year. That is crazy amount of young riders in that. So you can imagine that's going to be just as good as the junior Supersports or Supersport 300 in the world scene. So I'm not sure how that's going to play when it comes to the tight circuits, such as Knock Hill, such as Brands Hatch Indy.
I'll give you a clue, and it doesn't end well. They're not going to the Indy
circuit this year, thankfully.
Oh, they're not. Yeah, so
no, it's.
So yeah, so that's
I would imagine though they would do a similar thing to what they do over in World Supersport 300, in that, although there's no provision, I don't think, for a last chance race, they'll certainly strictly enforce, the 107% rule, and whoever doesn't qualify in that time for the leader will not get to race on the tight circuits like Cowport Park, or the short circuits like Knock Hill, for example. I would imagine. Nothing official has been announced about that yet. BSB tend to do that on a round-by-round basis. But that's how I would imagine it would go.
There are. I've got the same entry list up on here for the Junior Supersport Championship, and wow, there are some. I know a lot of names actually on here, just because I've produced the live radio coverage for Cool Fab Racing since 2016, and recognise already a lot of these young riders, and sort of knew them when they were sort of like that big, really, when they were very, very, very small. Visual radio. Anyway, but yeah, people like Rossi Banham, Oscar Pinson, Jake Hopper as well. These aren't like any. I'm not choosing any particular preference of who I'm suggesting might do well. I'm just reading that names I recognise. To be honest, Tristan, Italian family root name who I can't pronounce the name of. Hello, good evening. Interesting if you tuned in. Brodie Crockford as well. Chloe Jones. Also, I think she's returning. I think she's not making a debut. But Aidan Davey. Jay Abel as well. I think Max Lofthouse, Cameron Dawson, and there's who's the American lad? Nicholas Swensgaard, I think, some American lad in there. But yeah, good luck anyway.
Yes, as you know, the junior categories in any racing series these days tend to be just all-out action. So I can't wait to see that get underway this weekend. For something like Moto3 or the European Supersport 300 class, then we're going to be in for an epic bunch of races this weekend.
You're not wrong, definitely. That is pretty much it for the show this week. And unless there was sort of any other business that that anyone had to sort of crowbar into the show, anyone want to mention anything?
Well, with a Superstock 1000 Championship, first of all, today, the happy birthday to the father of the paddock, as it's Michael Rutter, who will be embarking on his 25th season of racing this year, I believe. So, wow, say that. And a quick shout out to the two brothers, Tim and Tom Neve, who used to go to my school, who they are. Good luck to them this season in the Superstock 1000 Championship as well.
Exactly, yeah. So, I'd just say best of luck to everyone competing in any class this weekend in what is definitely by far the best national championship. Well, it's almost international, really, isn't it? BSB. We know the MSVR, the organisers and officials and marshals will do a absolutely bang up job that they usually do. Perfect as always and totally professional, leaving us with nothing but just great memories at the end of the weekend and correct predictions by me. Anyway, one final plug for the Superbikes Challenge app and the Superbikes Challenge game. Check it out, superbikeschallenge.uk, I think is the web address, so you can Google it, find it on your app store on your phone, and it's totally free to play. Why not do it? Put in your predictions, go up against some of the best people or not at predicting things in the country. No names, Liam. And we can find out. We can find out if you were right or wrong. And if you were right, then you probably win one of many decent prizes. Check that out. But that really is it for tonight's show. Thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Lester, Liam and Ed. Thank you both for coming on the show. We'll look to do it again, probably not this time next week, but maybe a little bit earlier in the week perhaps, because we'll be busy preparing for Cool 5 and stuff. Plus Liam will actually be on a coach because he's got like a 6-hour journey just to get down to Manchester just before another 5-hour journey before we get to the actual event. It's coming from Glasgow.
The glitz and glamour of commentating.
I know. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be either devastated come Monday because our people didn't win, or we'll be absolutely delighted because we'll be all wearing some proper team merch and walking around with a crate full of Iron Maiden beer. Not bad, eh?
Very good indeed.
The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hey everyone, Bradley Smith.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Buchan.
I am Tom Sykes.
This is Motorsport Radio.